The night was colder than usual, the kind of cold that crept into the bones and made even the streetlights shiver in their glass shells. The city buzzed softly in the background, as if too tired to stay awake. At a lonely bus stop stood a little girl named Ayla, clutching her worn school bag and waiting for the bus that would take her home. Life hadn't made things easy for her. Her mother worked long hours as a maid in a wealthy family's house, and Ayla had learned far too early what sacrifice meant. But she carried her struggles quietly, with the quiet strength of a child who had seen hardship but still believed in goodness. As she stood under the dim streetlight, she noticed an elderly woman walking slowly toward the bus stop, shivering slightly in the cold. Her coat was old, her shoes dusty, and her hands trembled as she searched her pockets with an anxious expression. Something in the woman's eyes, fear, confusion, or maybe just exhaustion, pulled Ayla's heart toward her. If you believe in kindness, compassion, and second chances, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Thread. Your support keeps these heart-touching stories alive. Ayla watched the old woman carefully, sensing that she was struggling with something. When the bus finally arrived, its doors opened with a tired wheeze. Ayla stepped forward, but the old woman hesitated behind her, still searching for something in her coat. When the driver asked for the fare, the woman froze, her face turning pale as she whispered something too softly for the others to hear. People behind her sighed in frustration. Some looked away. Others pretended she didn't exist. But Ayla saw the fear in the woman's trembling hands and knew exactly what was happening. She reached into her small purse, which held only a few precious coins her mother had given her for the week, and without thinking twice, she pressed a folded note into the woman's hand. The woman looked at her with wide eyes full of gratitude and disbelief as Ayla gently nodded, as if telling her it was okay, that everyone needed help sometimes. The two boarded the bus and settled into seats separated by a few rows. Ayla didn't look back, she hadn't helped to be thanked or noticed. Her mother had always taught her that real kindness was quiet, offered without expectation. As the bus rolled through the city, Ayla stared out the window, thinking of her mother still working at the house of her wealthy employer, scrubbing floors while her hands ached. She wished she could help more, maybe buy her warm gloves for winter or a proper meal after a long day. Life was tough, but they survived together, with love, with faith, and with tiny acts of kindness that made heavy days a little lighter. The old woman, meanwhile, watched Ayla from afar, studying the girl's calmness, her innocence, her quiet strength. Something about her stirred a memory the woman had long buried, the image of her own daughter many years ago, a girl with the same brightness in her eyes and the same courage in her heart. The elderly woman blinked away the thought as tears gently welled in her eyes. She didn't understand why a stranger had helped her, but she felt the warmth of that act spreading through her heart like a long-forgotten comfort. When the bus stopped near Ayla's neighborhood, she stepped off and began her walk down a dim, narrow street filled with small houses and flickering lights. She had no idea the old woman had stepped off behind her, walking slowly but determinedly, her eyes fixed on the girl who had touched her heart. Ayla reached the small gate of her home, a tiny, two-room structure her mother could barely afford, and paused when she saw the lights on inside. Her mother must have returned late and left them on for her. Ayla smiled softly and pushed open the gate, unaware she was being followed. The old woman hesitated at the entrance, unsure if she should approach. But something compelled her to step closer, a feeling she couldn't ignore. From inside the house came the soft sound of a woman's tired movements, and when Ayla opened the door, her mother turned with weary eyes that brightened upon seeing her daughter. For a moment, the warmth of home filled the air, but then Ayla noticed her mother staring at something behind her. When she turned, she saw the elderly woman standing timidly near the gate, her cheeks flushed from embarrassment and cold. Ayla's mother recognized her instantly. She had seen this woman only once before, not in their neighborhood, but in a picture, one her employer, a wealthy businesswoman, kept on her desk. It was a picture of her mother, whom she spoke of only rarely. A woman who had disappeared from public life and lived quietly away from the world's eyes. A woman whose strength had built an empire, and whose silence had become a mystery. A woman who was, unbeknownst to Ayla, a billionaire. The realization hit her mother like a wave. She stepped forward quickly, asking if the elderly woman needed help, offering her a seat and water. The woman accepted with a grateful nod, and once inside, she sat quietly, observing the small, humble home. Her fingers touched the cracked wooden table, the old cushions, the faded curtains, details that spoke of struggle but also of love. Ayla and her mother stood beside her, unsure what to say. The old woman finally looked up, her eyes shimmering with emotion. She explained that she had lost her wallet earlier that day and had been too embarrassed to ask anyone for help, afraid people would judge her. She thanked Ayla again, her voice trembling with sincerity. Then, slowly, she shared who she really was, speaking gently but honestly, revealing a truth that struck both Ayla and her mother with astonishment. She explained her life of wealth, her estranged relationship with her daughter, and how she had spent years living quietly, away from her empire, longing for family more than riches. She said that meeting Ayla, this little girl who gave without asking anything in return, had reminded her of the goodness she feared no longer existed in the world. She held Ayla's hands and said she had felt something in that moment on the bus, something that felt like a second chance at seeing life's true meaning. As the night deepened, the old woman spoke softly, her voice filled with gratitude. She offered to help Ayla's family, not out of pity, but out of respect for the kindness that had been extended to her. She wanted to use her resources to create opportunities, to bring comfort, and to honor the goodness she saw in them. She promised to reconnect with her own daughter as well, inspired by the bond she witnessed between Ayla and her mother. If this story has touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Thread. Your support means more than you know. Before you continue, please comment below what kindness means to you. Your words may inspire someone today. And as the elderly woman left their home that night, her steps were lighter, her heart fuller, and her life forever changed, all because a little girl offered a simple act of kindness that money could never buy.
Pero bueno, ya estamos acá tranquilos. Ahora en un ratito nos vamos a poner a jugar el modo historia del GTA. Vimos, para la gente que está entrando, hablamos un poco de fútbol, un poco de Boca, que está jugando. 185 va. Hablamos de la prelista de Scaloni, hablamos de la lista de Scaloni, dimos nuestra opinión. Hablamos de lo lindo que sería dormir con una mentirosa y un cafecito.